What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is all about the Lachmann Shroud. As always, this video was available 2 days early on the YouTube early releases page for premium subscribers on the TGD webpage. We're going to get into the weapon, but first we're going to talk about some new really cool recoil features that I built into TGD. But yeah, hope you enjoy the video. I just wanted to remind you that this video was posted 2 days earlier in the YouTube early releases for TGD premium subs. Today's video is going to be about the Lachmann Shroud. I want to cover some new features though before we get into that. So TGD now has a unique recoil generating system. Before it used one static recoil plot and then adjusted that based on what you attached. Now I've done something really cool where it actually has two different components. So you can see there's aim sway as well. So it's hiding by my picture, but there's aim sway, the gun sway, the background sway, and then you can combine them both to get the actual path that your aim point moves around in space with the weapon. So basically, I measured recoil plots that didn't have any aim sway at all. I took all the aim sway out of it, and then wrote an algorithm that can essentially create recoil that looks just like the recoil that's created by these weapons in game. So each time you load this page now, a weapon will have a unique recoil pattern just like it does in game, and it should be very realistic. And then also, because I separated out aim sway and measured aim sway separately, you can put that back in and do comparisons against aim sway. So this is just a random example here. This is an M13 that I put some attachments on that actually make the aim sway worse. So if we look at the recoil here and we go to this current build recoil, and then we change this to versus aim sway. So this is going to be in the white dots, is going to be without any aim sway. So that is the recoil with all aim sway removed. And then orange is with aim sway included. And then also we added this ability to add multiple plots. So the point of this is if you stack a bunch of plots, it's much easier to see how much randomness there is. So if I say 10 plots here, all of a sudden we get 10 plots on each one of these. And you can see the orange one that includes the aim sway has a much more random, much wider line. So that's the point of this. You can really compare and see how much aim sway is impacting your actual recoil pattern in magnitude, which I think is pretty cool. This was a fun and tricky thing to develop. And now I'm down at the bottom of the page on the full comparison, and if you go to the recoil tab, you can do the same thing here. So we got 6 plots stacked on top of each other for these 5 different weapons, and it really gives you an idea of how much randomness there is and how the recoil just kind of, where it goes, how much spread there is. And again, there's an aim sway toggle, so you can turn aim sway on and off and just toggle between this, and you can see when it's on, there's dramatically more randomness. All the recoil plots get quite a bit wider. So that's kind of the point of that. The aim sway is pretty bad in this game, so I thought it was pretty cool to build a visualization feature for how much it can impact the actual recoil path that is taken. I also want to say that TGD is fully up to date, so with Season 5 reloaded, everything is on there. You can see in the bottom left here, we have the data version now, so it says 8.30.23 patch, up to date, Season 5 reloaded. So everything's up to date here. I got about 60% of the weapons done myself, and then Sim posted, so, credit to them for their work, obviously, as always. They do great stuff over there, so I just wanted to mention that. So first of all, how you actually unlock the Lachmann Shroud is a little bit different than normal. It's a battle pass unlock, but it's like achievement based. It's not, it's not token based, it's achievement based. So in the battle pass, you can open it up. It's right here. And the achievements to get it are 15 operator kills with melee weapons, 3 operator kills without dying 20 times, 15 headshot kills with a pistol, and then 20 long shot kills. And then once you get those done, you can do the 30 hipfire kills with SMGs. So, melee weapons, I would say jump on shipment, use a knife, use smokes, just any melee weapon's fine. But use smokes so you can get close to people on shipment. That'll get done super fast. 3 kills without dying 20 times. That one's, you just got to do that. Not much I can tell you about that, but again, hopefully this one just happens while you're doing the other 3. 15 headshot kills with pistols. Just throw on the deagle, play shipment hardcore, and you can basically stand as far back as you are able and just kind of try to get headshots across like the sides of the map on shipment hardcore, and it'll be 1-shot kill, so it'll be really easy. 20 operator long shot kills. So that the reason I said to stand at the back of the map with the deagle is because you can get kills that count for both of these. So if you get a headshot kill with a pistol and you're more than 20 meters with that pistol, which is pretty easily from side to side on the shipment map. It's about 35 meters from, it's a square map, so it's like 35 by 35. So it's pretty easy to get long shot kills with the pistol on shipment. So that is how I'd recommend doing that. Just throw on the deagle, Go for those headshot kills. You'll occasionally not get a headshot, but you might still get a long shot, and then you'll be working towards the 3 operator kills without dying 20 times with these other 3 as you're doing that. And then for the final one, hipfire kills, I mean, just throw on your favorite SMG and build it for hipfire, and just run around shipment. So it shouldn't take too long, maybe 30 minutes or an hour to get this unlocked, but just wanted to cover how to do that. But we are here to talk about the Lachmann Shroud, which is the new SMG. This is the Lachmann Subs low bullet velocity suppressed variant. We didn't have a different gun for this in previous Warzone. We just had the barrel that made it act like this. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the damage range. So I think everybody kind of understands shipment at some level. So we've got shipment here. I'll do the mini map as well. But so if you've never seen this feature before, this is damage range map. You can select a gun and it will build concentric rings of the damage ranges above the map. So I think this is pretty cool to kind of give you a feeling. Everyone knows shipment. So like if you were hiding behind these boxes over here, your damage range would be just about the edge of the crates on this side, and then almost to the crates on that side for the first damage drop off of only 8.9 meters, 16.5 meters for the second drop. So you can see this is pretty aggressive drop offs, but it's pretty normal for the faster time to kill weapons. It's also important to note that the Lachmann Shroud is a burst weapon, so we don't really have any other burst SMGs in this game. This is the first one, and it might be the first one that's actually really good. This is shipment with the Lachmann Shroud with the mini map instead of the actual screen map. So I just wanted to show both because this one's a little bit more precise, but that one might give you more of a real feel for how it is. And you can move this around too, so you can kind of place it in different places and see where the damage ranges would drop off. And it'll also adjust for your attachments that you put on the weapon. So I think this is pretty cool. I don't use it very much. Kind of forgot that it existed myself, but just wanted to highlight it here. We've also brought back the shot location color matching that we had on TGD 1.0. Finally, we wanted to bring this back since the first day, but just never got to it. So basically the color of the shot location will match the damage value on the left. So you can see this actually has a unique damage profile where upper arm matches chest and neck. So we got this big chest hitbox right here, and then a big stomach hitbox down there, and then legs do less damage. So chest time to kill on this thing is fantastic because it has 47 damage to the chest in that first damage range, 57 to the head, so you can get really, really good time to kill on the chest and upper body in general, and then just the bigger hitbox helps with that as well. So looking at the shots to kill calculator in the first damage range, again shows this should be a very strong weapon. Neck, chest, and upper arm are all 47 damage with this 550 millisecond time to kill approximately. The thing that I want to note here is that it takes 2 headshots to reduce that time to kill. So to get 1 less shot to kill, if you get 2 headshots, that's not bad. We like to see 1, but 2 is still something that's going to happen sometimes. But the big thing here is that the stomach and lower arm, which is that lower hitbox, if I scroll back up to this guy, this blue hitbox here, stomach and lower arm, it takes 5 shots off of the chest and upper arm to make your TTK worse. So you're pretty much always going to get the chest time to kill on this weapon. With the occasional, it's going to be probably more common that you're going to get this reduced headshot time to kill than you're going to get the slower stomach and upper lower leg time to kill. So that's a really good thing. It's going to be a very consistent weapon with those upper body shots. So looking at the TTK chart, you can tell instantly that the Lachmann Shroud in red has pretty low bullet velocity because of how slanted the line is. So by default, bullet travel time is included on your time to kill in TGD. So that's the amount of time it takes the first bullet to reach the target at any distance. So that is obviously based on bullet velocity. The faster the bullet's moving, the faster it's going to get there. And the faster it gets there, the faster the time to kill is. Because you can have significantly different time to kill out to like 30 meters if one gun shoots at 1,000 meters per second bullet velocity and the other one's 250. So that's just something to note. The Lachmann Shroud is very slow bullet velocity. So anything past like 20 meters, you're going to probably have to lead your shots unless you have something that helps that bullet velocity. But right off the bat, we can see that the time to kill in the first damage range is dramatically faster than anything else. So like I said, this is a burst gun. It basically has no burst delay though. It has a really tiny burst delay. So you can basically just spam the trigger repeatedly and it just is constantly firing just like an automatic, and it's pretty easy to get relatively near a perfect burst cycle with like no delays that are caused by clicking. So that's something that's special about it. Most other burst guns have a pretty long burst delay, so it's like a little more difficult to time it just right to get the full burst speed, the maximum possible burst fire rate. But the Lachmann Shroud basically just feels like an automatic weapon that you don't even have to click that fast to make it happen. So it's kind of unique in that way. So it looks like it's way better, but if you ever do accidentally, not quite get the full maximum burst speed, it will slow this down compared to something like the ISO and the Lachmann sub. But yeah, I haven't even said this yet, but the red is the Lachmann Shroud. The orange and the blue are the ISO and the Lachmann sub at 600 milliseconds. And then the Vel 46 is in green, which is directly underneath the Vel 46 from pre-Season 5 Reloaded. That's another thing. TGD has the pre-update weapons on there as well, just the base weapons. You can't put attachments on them, but they're on there so you can compare pre and post if you want and see the changes yourself. But yeah, time to kill up close tends to be the biggest thing, the most important thing. So that's why Lachmann Shroud, I think, is going to be the meta for sure for close range. It's crazy good. Down here in the stats area, I also want to highlight this. Lachmann Shroud has very small hipfire, so 2.7 compared to the ISO at 4.1, the Lachmann sub at 4, the Vel at 3.5. So could be a really, really good hipfire mouse and key weapon as well. And over here you can see the bullet velocity is only 250 compared to the other SMGs. Movement speed is actually a little bit faster than the other weapons in some ways. In other ways it's about the same. But ADS movement speed's faster as well. So it's just looking like it's going to be the best SMG. And looking at MetaGen, I'm going to cover up the rest of the weapons for my full meta video, but you can instantly see that MetaGen thinks that the Lachmann Shroud is easily the best. This is one of the biggest gaps we've ever seen on MetaGen. The only other time was when the X13 auto was massively, ridiculously overpowered. So yeah, it's looking like the Lachmann Shroud is going to be the meta for sure. It's interesting though because it is harder to use because it's burst. That's something we haven't really seen before. We've had burst SMGs like in Warzone 1, but they were never any good. So it'll be interesting to see if this is accurate. It might be that getting those perfectly timed bursts to get that actual real TTK is harder than, it seems. But for now, if you can get that theoretical TTK and you can get those burst timings at least close to what they're like minimum, it's going to be really good. It's going to be so much better than everything else. One last thing to note, I have the RPM set to 655. That was basically me shooting 20 bullets and just trying to click as fast as I could, and the average RPM came out to 655. So that is slower than is theoretically possible. It's more like 680, 690 if you time everything perfectly. But if we scroll down and we look at the DPS chart here, even with that slower theoretical there, with the the fire rate being lower than it actually can be, it still has dramatically more damage per second on chest than any of the other options. So 513 versus 448 for the ISO, 467 for the Lachmann sub. So even if you're not firing it perfectly, it's still going to kill faster than everything else as long as you're at least relatively close to getting those burst timings correct. All right, getting into the builds now. First one we're going to talk about is a Hipfire build. So this is really aimed at mouse and key players mostly. I mean, obviously, if you like Hipfire on controller, that's fine too. But the randomness of the Hipfire actually can help when you're on mouse and key when you can't predict motion perfectly. So this is the build that I'm liking the most with the Lachmann Shroud for Hipfire. So we got Hipshot Laser, L20, Slimline Pro, Stockless Mod, 50 round drum, and Precision 40 underbarrel. So the Precision 40 underbarrel says it helps Hipfire, but it really only helps things that don't matter too much when you're not moving. So it helps like the Hipfire when you're not moving, which no one's ever not moving when they're hipfiring. But the tuning, Hipfire accuracy tuning, makes a big difference. So we've tuned this all the way towards Hipfire accuracy, minus 0.57 towards hip walking speed as well. Hipshot L20 is plus 14.81 towards hip spread, and then minus 0.29 towards hip walking speed again. We've got the LM Stockless Mod. This helps with Hipfire, 50 round mag, and then Slimline Pro, obviously. So we got flinch resistance and close personal preference there. So if you take this into the firing range, you're going to see this has just obnoxious hipfire. Look at that hipfire cone. At 10 meters, it's like the size of the guy, even while moving. So this is pretty obnoxious. It has such a small hipfire cone to start with, and then these attachments just make it even better. And it's going to be a great gun for mouse and key players. It can still get pretty big as you fire, but anything inside 10 meters is going to be very doable on this with mouse and key. So I think this is a great build. It also is going to have, the ADS isn't great because of the mag and the underbarrel, but it's not terrible, and the recoil is complete. Even with the stockless mod, the recoil is completely manageable. It kind of screws up my aim a little bit to have to click fast on mouse and key compared to controller, because you're actually clicking on the thing you're aiming with on mouse and key, but there's basically like no recoil with this thing. So even with the stockless mod, it's still going to be very usable for situations where you need to take out a target that's at longer ranges. And then next up, we have the build that MetaGen spit out. So this is the #1 build according to MetaGen, and it's an ADS build. We don't have Hipfire builds yet on MetaGen, but that might be coming someday. The issue with it is that it's so dependent on tuning. We don't have tuning values, so it's going to be tough to really do a true Hipfire build without knowing that information. But anyway, VLK laser 7 milliwatt, Slimline Pro, FT mobile stock, Lachmann TCG10 rear grip, and 50 round drum magazine. So yeah, the irons are okay on this gun, but it's just kind of like there's not really another attachment that you would want in that spot. So you'll notice if you run MetaGen on TGD with 5 attachments instead of 4, which means that you'll get one without an optic, it's going to put something on there that seems pointless, like the FSS Sharkfin 90. And that's because it just simply couldn't find another attachment that it thought was a positive for the best builds. So there was nothing else that really helped. So it just threw this on there because this helps, even though it's a minuscule, tiny amount. It helps with the idle stability. So it's just like it has no cons, but it had nothing else that it wanted to put on there. There was nothing else that made the gun better than the 4 attachments that I have on the right. So just keep that in mind. The barrels are kind of okay. They're not great. I feel like the Dark Star killing your damage range on this gun is just bad because it already only has 8.9 meters, and then the grapple has such bad ADS time that's pretty much why MetaGen doesn't put the barrels on there. It's just because those two things are not great. But yeah, this is the build that I think most people should probably use, especially controller players. This is going to be pretty nasty. It's going to have a really good ADS movement speed, a fantastic time to kill, be really accurate. So for tunings, the VLK laser, we've got minus 0.19 towards sprint to fire, minus 19.74 towards aim down sight speed. Optic, again, flinch resistance and close. Personal preference. FT mobile stock, this got a buff. I don't know if it was kind of bugged before or what, but the stats just weren't quite right before, so this has been changed and it gives you better mobility now than it used to. So we're going to go minus 3.48 towards aim down sight speed and minus 1.86 towards aim walking speed. Lachmann TCG10, again, there were just no attachments that made the gun better, so this one helped with recoil a little bit, and aiming stability is almost not important at all. So MetaGen was like, oh, well, recoil control is a little bit important at least, so this attachment is still a positive. So that's why we got that on there. Tuned towards aim down sight speed, minus 0.26 ounces, and then minus 0.38 inches towards sprint to fire speed. Taking this into the firing range. Again, I'm not sure the firing range really has the right health values still, but this you can see has good ADS movement speed for sure, pretty good ADS time, and it's just going to melt people. And the recoil is non-existent. That's what's kind of weird, is because it's a burst gun, it kind of just stays in the exact same spot, even compared to the other subs, which already were low recoil. So I'm not really sure that this is going to be staying this way for long. I think it's pretty overpowered. All right, everybody, that's it for this video. Just wanted to cover the new Lachmann Shroud. It is the meta for sure. I'm still going to make a close range meta video just so I can talk about the other weapons that are in the game. But I just wanted to cover this first since it's definitely the new meta. Pretty easy to unlock. It's a little annoying, but it's not too terribly difficult at least. But yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.